You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast hosted by Matt Franks and Zach Bechtold. We hope you enjoy this week's show, and you can find out more about us by going online at beardedtheologians.com, where you can pick up a few t-shirts, listen to a few old episodes, and find ways that you can connect with us. Thank you for listening. You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast hosted by Matt Franks
and Zach Bechtold. And we have a very special guest on the podcast today, one that has been very kind to let me be late and has showed a lot of grace for all of my nonsense and reindeer games today. So I want to introduce you all to the Reverend Dr. Casey Sigmund. She asked for choreography. So
I did. Thank
those
you.
of you
Thank you.
Listening, I did a beautiful interpretive dance. For those of you watching, thanks for staying with us. Hey, Casey, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm excited to talk to you all, even without a beard.
Well, I used to tell people we would put it on in post, and Matt got mad at me for doing that. So
I did play with filters before you got here, Zach.
She was playing.
See if it would work. It looked a little odd.
It was a little. It was just not as fun as you would have hoped it would.
Not
have
as
To be
fun.
fair, they look odd on us in real life. Well, Casey, thanks for being with us. Would you tell our listeners just a little bit about yourself? You know, who you are, where you're from, what you do, what your perfect date is. You know, those types of things.
Oh my
Let 'em get to know
gosh.
you.
That's so many things. Well, I'm Kansas City born and raised, and I'm so excited to be like living back in Kansas City after some decades away doing scholarly pastoral things in the rest of the country. So I teach at St. Paul School of Theology and preaching and worship. So I have the most fun job ever because I get to basically have a lab of creativity with pastors and training around these crucial practices of ministry. And I think we have a really fun time learning together. I guess like, what's my perfect date? I would have to say October in Kansas City in general, and just getting the meat sweats. No, I'm just kidding.
That's what's up. I'm here for it.
No, it probably involve like very good food, friends, laughter, and definitely a karaoke session later on for sure. Yeah.
Big fan of that. That's awesome. Well, you shared a little bit about, where you work, the
Yeah.
fun things you get to do,
Yeah.
but we know that it's more than just a job title. So, what are the cool things you're getting to do there at St. Paul's?
The cool things that I get to do, the first one is I get to direct this pause play Center for Preachers, which is a Lilly compelling preaching initiative project. And it was a dream of mine that I put to paper when someone was like, hey, there's like $1 million out there for ideas about how to make preaching more compelling. And I was like, I'm really tired of methods that focus on if you read this book or follow these tips or tricks, your preaching will be better. I fundamentally believe that when our souls are well and when we are feeling creative and imaginative and joyful, our preaching sounds more compelling and better. And so I said, what if there was a center that just tried to restore those good habits and patterns in pastors' lives to see if that improves their preaching? And so that's what I get to do outside of teaching in the classroom is form cohort groups and mentor working preachers to restore their inner child creativity and playfulness and see the ripple effects in their lives and ministry. So it's been the best thing to witness over the last 2.5 years or so of doing that work. And I try to live it out too. So I, in addition to karaoke and going to as many concerts as I possibly can, which is pretty easy to do in Kansas City, I have to say. If folks don't know, we're not just a flyover Like we have a really great art scene here. Is like I take tap dance, for example.
Nice.
Well, my
Ah, that's where
daughter's
the
in her.
choreography came in.
Yes.
Right. Okay, got it. Got
So I
it.
also, I try to live with integrity and also find those practices of flow and joy that remind me of my creatureliness and help me to connect with other humans.
Yeah. Um, Mildly related, completely off topic. Sorry, listeners. Did you ever watch the show Psych?
No.
Oh, there's a whole tap dancing thing in there where they tap dance to figure out the things. Um,
Oh my gosh.
so all to say, let's learn to tap dance and figure out how we preach, right? Like,
Yes,
let's work through
exactly.
the things and tap. I'm here for it. I love that. I love that work that you're doing. We'll talk. Well, I'll tell you the long story later when we're not recording. But exactly what you're doing is something that I'm crazy passionate about, also in equipping folks uh, to preach and kind of regain either build that muscle if they're new. In our conference we have a lot, all of our conferences, but especially out here we have a lot of licensed local pastors who
Oh
are
yeah.
doing this as a second career, or filling pulpits because there's nobody else.
Hmm.
And a lot of lay folks doing that in a lot of ways also, who don't have training, who don't have access to seminary, who don't have anything but whatever they've done on Sunday mornings and whatever they've heard on Sunday mornings
Yep.
in their lifetime, uh, if that. And one, I love the art of preaching and just sitting down and writing a sermon and crafting a sermon series and planning, 6 months in advance and doing. It took a long time to get there.
I'm
And so
so glad you said you planned 6 months in advance. That's
yes,
what I say is the dream.
it's the dream, right?
Yeah, it's easier. Once you're there, it's
Oh, much
easier.
Yeah.
easier. Yeah. But it took forever to learn
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
And you get people who are coming in brand new as local pastors going, "Oh my God, how do you even do that? I barely
Hmm.
get week to week.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's Saturday." And I'm like, totally been there, right?
Yep.
And
Hmm.
so like how can we be creative with that and do that and teach people that it's not just getting up and filling 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 8 minutes, whatever on a Sunday because we have to. But how do you have fun? How do you
Yeah.
lean into that and learn something new, right? Like, and begin to unpack that. And like you said, people see that joy in those healthy rhythms when we have that. And so crazy passionate about all of that work that you're doing, and uh, love that you're doing it. So I say all of that to ask, like, what are you doing? Like, what's the most fun thing about that? Like, what are you learning in this process as you gather with clergy and folks who are learning how to preach or reclaiming how to preach, maybe?
Yeah. So I think I'll just highlight the gathering, for example, that we have every summer. And it's open to the public. So it's our most it's the largest gathering that we have as a center. And we have smaller, like intimate groups of cohorts that do more deep work through it throughout the year.
Mhm.
Um, but what we're doing, I mean, one of the really key things is like reminding pastors that they have a body, or we're embodied, and like even like seriously like basics of just like breathing and laughter, or somatic work that my colleague Amy Shoemaker leads them through. And yeah, belly laughter. And we have amazing like guides. And in Kansas City, Hallmark is here. We have a lot of artists in this part of the country, and some of them will do workshops. One, Deanna Skadell, she does processing through art. So I love watching, these a lot of type A pastors sitting down and they think that they're going to be asked to make an image of something.
Mm.
And what she does is lead them through reflection and prayer, like through just art, and then notice what comes out instead, and talk about it with others. So it's much more of a dialogical, creative process. And then to say, Well, how do we do that with our sermon craft too? Instead of like putting this perfectionistic pressure on ourselves about the outcome, but being more curious and open and co-conspiratorial with the spirit and our community to let something emerge and really do that witnessing part of preaching more so than the telling. Like,
Mm,
witness what's happening, help people to also pay attention to what God's up to in our midst, instead of brushing past that to offer more information and already information soaked brains that are overstimulated. Because, transformation happens in the heart. And so attentiveness is how I think that that transformation really comes about through preaching as preachers and listeners. So that's one example. Like, so it's not like your typical preaching workshop and gathering because few of the workshops are led by homileticians. They're mostly people who are skilled and creative in their art. It's like cross training, if that makes sense for preaching.
I'm just getting my dictionary
I
out.
was like, I scared Zach away.
Homiletician.
Zach ran away. Homiletician is the fancy nerdy word of what my PhD is in, the study of preaching.
I love that.
Yes.
So I'm going to put that on my business card. I'm no longer preacher, homiletician. That's great.
I'm a homiletician.
I'm a homiletician.
That would look really great next to your mortician name. So like,
It would.
I'm the
so
homiletician mortician.
That's right. That's right.
like that's a whole new market for you, Zach.
Uh, I I love that so much. In we take ourselves way too seriously,
Oh yeah.
as just
Oh
pastors in
yeah.
general.
And the academy where I reside as well. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and what we do is serious work. It's very heavy and very heartbreaking at times, but there's so much to celebrate and play
Yeah.
in and be
Yeah.
creative in. Uh, and I'm not the most creative person despite my ADHD background behind me. But when I'm healthy, right, and I
hmm
have the time and the energy,
hmm
whatever, that I'm able to, right? Like I'm able to bring out that creative bit, but I know I can't do it 52 times a year, right? I
hmm
know that I can't have that sermon illustration 52 times a year. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that I try to share with folks coming up through thing one, here's how you plan. And
hmm
two, you don't have to do the song and dance
No.
52 times a year fresh, but like how are you building on each thing? And so yes, taking a bunch of type A people and sitting them down and go, look at all the things.
Uh, what do I
Just be
do with
present.
it? What's the homework?
Right,
What's the
right.
rubric?
Exactly. Like and some of the greatest you talked about outcomes. Often I think that's how we approach it as pastors, approach Sunday at least, is Sunday's coming every 7 days. I have to preach a sermon, and the outcome is that I hit a home run every Sunday.
Yeah.
Generally is probably how I at least think about it, because I'm really unhealthy. But I had an admin assistant about 8 years ago. I was sitting in her office on a Monday morning, complaining about all of the things I didn't do or say or wanted to do different in this sermon. And she looked at me and went, "And what is this doing for you?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know." And
Rude.
she was like, great. You can do this, or you can go work on Sunday's sermon because it's
Yeah.
coming, right?
Yes,
You got one
exactly.
every
Every
7 days,
week. Every
right?
week.
And
Yeah.
if you hold on to what you didn't do here, what are you gonna you're not going to get to the next one, right? And she gave me that permission to let go, that it wasn't about the outcome on a Sunday morning or how good I thought I did or how many compliments or how bad I thought I did, right? It was, you got another one coming, build on it, see what
Build.
happens. And it was such helpful permission for me to be like, yeah, they're not going to be perfect. It's fine. You may hit a home run, you may strike out. Who cares?
Yeah.
You're doing it again in 7 days, so get
Yeah.
over it and move on. Um, in like I said, that outcome based is so hard. We get so stuck in that.
Oh, for sure. And I one of the things I'm very aware of and I try to shift in my teaching and being a part of a seminary is like how responsible is theological formation, theological education, and creating that outcomes rubric perfectionistic habitude in pastors when really the training is presencing and which will require different assignments and tasks, I guess, and feedback than just, you got this grade because you didn't do this and this and this. But that's hard to shift for sure.
Hmm.
So I don't know. A lot of one little anxiety thinking about when being grading for preaching like that.
It's not fun.
I
It's
remember.
not fun.
Well, but what's interesting, part of my story is that it was in my preaching class that my preaching professor literally asked the questions like, "Are you dyslexic?" Like, didn't ever, never like, didn't have any issues. Like, yes, I had issues, but didn't have it like ever. Nobody brought anything up because I just was able to skirt
Wow.
by. And my
Wow.
professor was like, so the way we would do it is you would preach and then like you would, for the next preacher, you would read the scripture. And so she was like, you did this sermon and then you read. And she was like, there's such a disconnect here. Let's talk about that. I was ready to like cry about my sermon and
Oh,
like ready like to like, hear the things that in the technical side of things for sermons that needs to be worked on. I was gearing myself ready for that. But to have that whole other conversation, like one, it kind of blew up my world a little bit and went on this whole journey of discovery of my ADHD and my dyslexia and all the things that have gone on with that. But like it's interesting how when we think about preaching, um, yeah, we do it we do it at least once a week. I mean, and that's if there's not a funeral or two.
mm-hmm.
And that I really think that preaching is more than just the one Sunday in the, 15 to 20 minute slot. There are other times that you're preaching that may not be like the true, you're not taking a text and breaking it down, but yet you're also
Mm-hmm.
trying to inspire people to connect with God or
Oh, yeah.
to do something. You're trying to rally the troops, whatever that may look like. Like I feel like that it's something we're always doing, and it's like as a guy who started out as kind of starting out in music education is always you're always practicing and you're always thinking about what you're doing and working on a scale. And like even though it's the scale, that scale by heart, you're always working on your notes or your intonation, making sure you hit each note right or being able to do it fast, slow, whatever. I think the same thing is with preaching is that there's this rhythm and there's this
Mm-hmm.
um flow that we can have if Zach and I both we are 6 months ahead as best we can. And I don't know about Zach, but I know for me, if I start to run out of that 6 months and I'm like, oh no, like I start to get itchy, like, oh no, like I don't know where I'm going because I know what I'm talking about now is going to set me up for Lent. I know that sounds
Yeah.
crazy, but it is setting me up
Oh,
for Lent. And that what we talk about at Advent is going to set us up for the summer. And like just being that far ahead does take some time, but once you have, and I really do think it's a process. It's like any art, you have your process. Everybody does it differently. But I think once you have that space and you craft that space and you're clear with your congregation about that space, like this is the space I have for my sermon writing.
yes.
That when you craft that space, like it gives you life when you have that time to be able to sit down and just like, knock it out. It does help you craft something that can be more beautiful. And it doesn't have to be the, three points in a cloud of dust and, stuff. But I think there's some beauty in and having an authentic rhythm and voice for each person and each preacher that not everybody does it the same.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I mean, don't you all have some of those days once in a while when you're working on a sermon? And I have it with sermons or sometimes just for a lecture that's coming up where you kind of have an out of body moment where like I get to do this, right?
Mhm.
Like it's not every week, but it's some weeks where like this is my job is to pray and to wrestle and to be creative and like offer this thing to people that I and places I care about. And then there are weeks where like, why is this my job? Why do I have to do this? But if you talk to any creative, any artist, like that is a very like organic
Mhm.
rhythm. Like it's not always sunshine and roses. But I love how you both think about the long term. And I think of like caves and like stalactites and stalagmites, like everything, every drip over time, it's forming something. And no
Mhm.
one sermon has to be the be all end all. It's just about the accumulation. And my mentor at Vanderbilt, John McClure, he and Dale Andrews and others worked on this listening to listeners project where they asked congregations about preaching and people who hear preaching about preaching. And one of the fascinating results of that study is people don't remember really don't remember what you're saying.
Mhm.
But boy, oh boy, the relationship they have with you as their pastor and your tone and your energy every Sunday is what they remember.
Mhm.
And so it does go back to that, like, how are you? How is it with your soul? Like, they will remember your presence more than your perfection
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
presentation.
Yep. That's exactly right. That's what I hear. I move a lot.
Tell us about that, Zach.
Seven, like 7 times in 12 years. I just started my fourth year at my current church.
He's in a new world. He doesn't know what 40 looks like.
I've never done a fourth year anyway.
4 more years.
Yeah, right. I just keep starting over every fourth year. It's just here.
He only really has like 3.5 years worth of sermons that he
Right.
just
So
No,
I don't really have to
no,
plan all that
no.
far ahead. I just keep reading. No.
What do I do now?
Right. And that's what I hear every time I step into a new church. Oh my God, the energy you bring to the pulpit. It's like, well,
Mm.
yeah, because it covers up a multitude of sin, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
energy covers up mediocrity all day. I don't really have anything to say. I'm just excited about it. But that's what people remember. Man, you brought a lot of movement literally to the pulpit. And we're
Mhm.
excited you're here. Great, because I'm
Mhm.
excited to be here. And that's all I
Mhm.
need you to know right now. Like I'm here. I'm pumped about it. Let's get to know each other.
Yeah.
Which I have found, having moved around a ton, and that has made me per my congregation's words, way more approachable than so many other people that they've had of oh, I just didn't ever feel like I could go talk to them. And day
Mm.
one, nope, we knew we could walk in, talk to you, and we'd have a great conversation.
Yeah.
And so that matters, right? Like our
Yeah.
presence in that matters so much more than if we think we knocked a sermon out of the park or whatever. Like those drips all matter and build on each other over the course of our time at a church. And I think that's because it's a Methodist podcast and we talk about Methodisty things, being itinerant, right?
Yeah.
That's a huge part of why it's so important, at least for me, is I can see that, right? Like
Mm.
I've been able to witness that over my career, and get now starting a fourth year, which I've never done, seeing that not only in my church, but in my preaching and in my leadership style, like, oh, all of these drips really did matter. And now I get to play with them because we're in
Yeah.
uncharted territory, which is really fun and cool.
That's awesome.
So that wasn't a question. That was just me
I love
pontificating.
it. No, I'm all about that.
I do have a question about how you have seen um, the world of preaching change in the
Mm,
last
mm,
5 years, 6 years,
mhm.
kind of pre-COVID, coming out of COVID, and now.
Yeah. So this is like a nice setup for I'm horrible at promoting, but I have a book out.
Ew. Let's talk about that too.
Yeah, like
It's called if I was smart, I would have had it right here, but it's called Engaging the Gadfly, Reflective Online Hybrid and In-Person Preaching in a Digital Age. And it came out of my dissertation. So way back in 2012 at Vanderbilt. I was the millennial who wanted to write about social media and preaching. And in 2012, not a lot of that being done. I would say not a lot of diving into online ecclesiology, especially in the United States. There are some pockets in Northern Europe where there were much more experimental, creative folks doing that work early on, but not as much here. And so I had this whole dissertation. I defended it in 2017 and hadn't yet turned it into a book. And then COVID hits, right? And so my dissertation, right, this is the shift, was all about like saying, kind of using Walter Ong and this idea that we are shifting from the print culture to the social media digital age. And just as preaching absolutely changed with the print age, with more wordiness and less the aesthetics and the kind of choreography of a mass and more into, you know, directive teaching from the book by the book, something's happening now. Well, now I don't have to really convince people of that. I feel like we can see that that's the case. And one of the examples of practices that I see emerging more in a more pronounced way is exploration and dialogical preaching. And not like, oh, I talked to people to prepare my sermon, but actual dialogical moment of the preaching where the preacher, the pastor is facilitating a conversation and folks are learning how to dialogue with real people in front of them instead of the debating and the trolling that is happening online. So I would say that's one of the major shifts and things I want to see shift in our preaching practice because we need to help folks resist the algorithmic sorting and polarization that takes place online where we think we're talking to people that are different from us and actually turn to one another and learn how to be humans who disagree around scripture and what matters most to the mission of the church. So that's probably a long answer there, but that's one of the big shifts I've seen.
Yes, that was Matt and I did so much work in that just through the podcast, but like in our areas pre-COVID of like we were doing a little bit, right? Like some people, mostly our larger churches were doing online church and putting sermons and things out there digitally. And much of my commissioning paperwork, because I wrote it in 2019, was all about the digital and physical.
Oh my gosh,
how
yeah.
do we do that, right? Like we have a very physical congregation and we have a very digital congregation, and they overlap, but they're also different. And so how do we engage that? And yeah, I mean, and then COVID hit. We were like, see, here we go. We're all doing it.
Come on, everybody.
Right. And I've seen a shift back now.
Yes.
Of, oh God, if we got to quit doing online so people will come back to church. Or how about you do something worthwhile and
Yeah.
get people to come, give people a reason to come back or to join you online or to engage
Yeah.
with you in some other way.
Do whatever you're doing, but do it well and with intention. Like
Yes.
that's what people are attracted to.
Yep. Because the reality was pre-COVID, you probably weren't doing anything different than you are now. People just felt more inclined or expected or whatever culturally to come to church.
Yeah.
COVID gave them a reason to get out of the habit.
Oh, I'm not there. And look
Right.
at my day. And
And the world didn't crash. And
I didn't
can
get
go
struck by
hiking.
lightning.
Right.
Yeah.
I can hang out with my family. I can sleep in. I can do 9 million other things. And it's just fine. So maybe why don't we re-engage the thing and give people something worthwhile to come to?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm curious in just that shift in what you're seeing in that, and that dialogical shift is hard. I would love to do that and find myself so stuck in my own rhythms of, gosh, if I do this and open it up and do the things, all of my planning goes out the window because I know how that's going to go, right? And so there's some stress and fear and anxiety around like I can't control all the things when I let other people talk.
This could be your fourth year.
Right. Yeah, right.
You're gonna.
I mean,
but I think that's where places like what you and I have seen and have experimented with like bar or dinner church.
Oh,
Like
gotcha. Yeah.
those more
exactly.
intimate gatherings, it makes sense. In a larger gathering, asking for that in the sanctuary on a Sunday morning with 150, 200 people, that's a little,
Nightmare.
that's
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
I think that does dilute from the
Yeah.
sacred in some ways. But I definitely think in the intimate gatherings, yeah, like have those conversations, like, and it doesn't have to be like your traditional Bible study, but it can be like we did a breakfast church, we did a brunch church this summer, and it was so much fun.
Oh yeah.
It was so chaotic, but everybody loved it.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Are we gonna do that again?" Like, yeah, it will happen again next summer for sure. And so I think we definitely have to find ourselves being in those creative spaces of doing stuff like that differently, and at different times in different places, and all the things like we can't just expect to do it here in the building and expect people to come. I think the more we can practice that outside the walls is key. Casey, I definitely want to honor your time. And so, kind of pitch the program for us.
Plug all the things. Plug all
Yes,
the
plug
things.
all the
things.
Okay. I'm going to plug all the things. So the Pause Play Center of Preachers, which I've mentioned already, please follow us on social media at Pause Play Center. So we post links to our podcast conversations, also things we're reading, voices that we're amplifying related to this turn and how we develop as preachers out of creativity and Sabbath and rest. Around February, January, we'll be opening up applications for the next year-long cohort of 12. So you get spiritual direction, stipends to invest in your creative practices, and a cohort of colleagues who's walking alongside you. And we have an annual gathering every summer, and it's always in Kansas City at the wonderful artistic Crossroads Hotel, and it's going to be July 14th through 17th in 2026. I hadn't talked about this yet, but in my worship teaching life, I started a modern worship music specialization at St. Paul School of Theology. So that's a whole nother thing we could have talked about another day. But basically, we have so if you're a worship leader and you're someone who's a theology nerd, a Methodist, and you're noticing, hey, like contemporary worship music songs that we lead in church don't really come out of like our tradition, but I love the sound, I love the style. Like, what's out there for me? Well, we have a program, and so we're forming a collective of students and graduates who are writing those songs for the church that are modern sounding, but the theology is more aligned with the Wesleyan tradition. So you can check that out as well. And yeah, I think that's enough promotion. And my book, yeah, read it if you want to learn more about the digital age.
We'll definitely have that in the show notes for our listeners to listen to. Zach, do you have any other questions? I know you probably have a ton.
I have so many questions. I just want to talk to you all day. But we'll let you go back to your real life and quit playing reindeer games with us. So thank you so much for being on and the work that you're doing, because it's truly it's the work we need. It's the work that's going to carry us forward and truly change the world. So thank you.
You're so welcome. And thank you for being one of these dialogical spaces where cross-pollination is happening in the church and we don't feel so alone and isolated in our work towards the kingdom. So thank you.
Likewise. Thank you.
Listeners will have all of ways to connect in with Casey and the work that she's doing. We'll have that on our show notes, and you'll be able to find all that at beardedtheologians.com. Where you can buy a mug or a shirt or two for that special friend of yours that needs a Bearded Theologians shirt or mug. You have a few.
I don't know that anybody needs one.
Oh yeah, there's a few people that need one, but want one's a whole other conversation. But listeners, thank you for listening. And so for the Bearded Theologians, I'm Matt Franks.
I'm Zach Bechtold. Thanks for checking us out.
Subscribe and like this video. And push that thumbs up.
Thank you for listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on all social media outlets. You can check out old episodes and more information at beardedtheologians.com. Thanks for checking us out.